So I want to talk about dog bite. They happen a lot.
And it's usually it's sad to say, but I have, it's young kids because they're playing with them too rough or something.
Hi guys, it's Nicole with D4A Personal Injury Show. I have the privilege today to be sitting with Gabriel Sepulveda Sanchez with
right.
Sepulveda Sanchez Law. Super excited to interview you today. We have some great questions for you about your law firm and how it originated, how many locations you have. So
yeah, and who you are and everything.
Cool.
So I guess one of our first questions we have here is, how did you get involved in personal injury?
That's a good question. Originally, I went to law school. I wanted to be in the Marine Corps, and I wanted to be I wanted to be a Marine officer JAG. I got secured a contract, got accepted, worked really hard for that, but I had a shoulder injury in my third year law school. Had to have a surgery, so that kind of got thrown off. And then I worked for an insurance defense firm. I just wanted a job out of law school. When I graduated. In 2011, the recession was really bad. So you just had to find a job wherever you can.
Yeah.
So I ended up getting a job at an insurance defense firm. And I remember just writing these checks out to plaintiffs' attorneys and seeing all this money being sent out. I'm like, wow, that sounds like sounds like they're doing good. And I think what happened, the big turning point was my dad runs a cemetery, and he referred me. He told me about a wrongful death client, that the wrongful death customer that came in that needed a lawyer. And I'm like, Dad, it's, I do defense work. I don't do that here, but let me send it out to my friend that had his own little practice. I ended up moonlighting with him on that case, and we settled it for a lot of money. And and that one check, I had like 4 years of salary from my firm, something like that. Not that much, but it was a lot. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get into personal injury now. This sounds like, I get to help people and are making a lot of money. So
yeah,
it was, that's how it started.
Yeah. Wow. That's great, man. Yeah.
My question is, who are your mentors? Like, what initially made you decide, like, hey, I want to go and become a lawyer? Before, like, I know you're talking about that you were wanting to do Marines, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, what made you decide, like, oh, okay, because some, most young kids decide, like, oh, I want to be a doctor, I want to be, a marine biologist. Like, what made you decide? Was there something that happened in your childhood that kind of wanted you to become a lawyer, or?
There's no lawyers in my family. It was, I think it was kind of by accident a little bit. And when I was in college, the war was kicking off, and I had some family in the Marines and the military, and I wanted to actually go serve my country as a ground officer. I was like going to sign up to the contract at college to go. And I remember my grandfather was a Marine, and a couple of family members were like, you should. There's other ways you can do it. You can do a law contract, you can do something else. So I was like, you know what, like I can handle that, and so I ended up changing my major philosophy. I liked reading and writing. I loved writing when I was in college. So I ended up just going to law school. I said, well, this is a graduate degree. I can still do what I want to do and be a lawyer. So I thought I can get the best of both worlds. But, life, somehow you end up where you're at.
Yeah, it happens.
So I'm not complaining. I'm happy,
No, yeah.
No. I feel like Marines and people who are in the Army that are watching, like, this is an attorney. If you ever get in an accident, this is the attorney you want to go for because he's on your side.
Yeah. So I love the I like reading military books. My whole family, a lot of my family's in the military. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. But, whatever it wasn't meant to be for me. But I'm still happy. With how my life ended up. That's cool.
And then regarding your law office, I mean, how long have you had it? How long has it been open? How'd you come up with the name? Did you just choose your last name, or?
It was one of those things like where I just kind of jumped in. I didn't really have a plan after law school to start my own business or anything like that. I think, I did come from an entrepreneurial family. My mom has a home healthcare business. My grandfather has a truck painting business. So I think I just naturally gravitated towards it. It wasn't a deliberate. That wasn't like something I wanted to do my whole life, start my own business. But after I decided to start my own practice, I just was like, what am I going to name it? And Sepulveda Sanchez Law, Sepulveda Law Group. And before you know it, I just built up from there.
Yeah.
Just started off with just me, laptop, and cell phone,
Dedication.
and just grinding. I was
Yeah.
just grinding, and whatever I can do to get cases, I was passing cards out to everyone. And
yeah.
I mean, when they make jokes about ambulance chasing, like I was ambulance chasing. Like I was out there hustling.
You get the gun that shoots out the business card.
I gave out my cards to everyone. Like
Yeah.
I was just hungry to get something started.
So we were just discussing the with Sepulveda Sanchez law. Our office here is on Sepulveda Boulevard, so we got to get him a place around here somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you do have quite a few locations. So
Yeah.
you are Los Angeles, Stockton, and New York.
Yes.
Explain that. What made you expand to New York?
Well, I went to law school at Syracuse University, and I was I have a lot of friends that were in New York City, and I go visit a lot, and I'm like, you know what, I really like New York a lot. I love going out here, and I'm like, well, if I'm gonna come out here so much and spend money, I might as well, make some money and not waste money out here. So ended up getting licensed over there, and I started an office there, and it's been great. It's a little bit different. New York's a no-fault state, so I think that soft tissue cases it's more lucrative, and there's more upside in California, but there's still you can still do well with soft tissue cases in New York. Serious injury cases they're good cases anywhere, but New York, it's a little bit more tough to do as well on settlements in New York as opposed to California. So I love New York. I wanted to be out there. I'm out there all the time. So I thought, I should just probably start up over here too.
Who doesn't? The restaurants and bars are open till
I know.
Super
Yeah.
late.
super
Yeah.
late.
Would you ever consider moving out there?
I'm
You
out there all the
have?
time. I think that's the visions for me to be able to go back and forth a lot.
Yeah.
We have a good operations manager right now. It's allowed me to free me up to go
Free you up,
marketing
yeah.
and so
That's great.
with technology and everything, with Zoom and all this stuff going on and the cloud-based systems, it's more realistic to do that.
Yeah.
I can work from forever now, but
Yeah.
I do like seeing my team and being around everyone.
Absolutely. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
leadership's important. Yeah.
So school wise, where did you grow up? Where did you attend school? Like I'd like to know. I guess general public would like to know.
Yeah, so I grew up in Stockton, California. People think Stockton, they're like, oh shit, it's dangerous. I'm like,
Hence the Stockton location for one of
Yeah.
his firms.
Yeah, so I grew up in Stockton. I had a good life. I was a private school kid. Wasn't like the gang life. Stockton's actually really nice.
Yeah.
There's a lot of nice areas. I grew up in the nice area in Stockton. All my friends
it.
were white kids, and
Yeah.
so I didn't know anything about. I don't have any street cred out there or nothing like that.
You
But
got it.
yeah, so I grew up over there. I went to St. Mary's High School, and then I ended up going out to Cal State Northridge for undergraduate school. And I just wanted to be in Los Angeles. I had cousins out here, and I'm like, well, I'll just try this out. And that's just how it ended up happening.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a great story.
Being based in New York, it's no
Yeah.
fault state.
No fault state. What is PIP? Seriously. All I know is MedPay and uninsured motorist coverage. And I know to have a high policy, because there's a lot of people out there driving with 1530 policy limits. And I know that's bad. So make sure you guys also hear this, because he's about to give you guys some knowledge.
Definitely.
So what is no fault state?
So, well,
How does
This
that
is
work?
going to take a while to explain.
yeah, that's no fault. Basically, what you want to remember, no fault means what it means. No fault. So, what happens is if you're in an accident, it doesn't matter if it's your fault or not. You're gonna get your medical expenses paid through your insurance company first. So your automobile insurance company actually will pay your medical expenses up to a certain limit, no matter what, if you're at fault or not.
Got it.
So in New York, say for example, you're driving and someone runs a red light and hits you, right? And you say you have a broken bone and you got some neck injuries, so you're treating. Well, instead of treating through liens, or instead of treating with whatever doctors you want and sending a demand to the third-party insurance company in California, like we do here for the for medical expenses and pain and suffering and all that stuff, you basically treat through your own automobile insurance. So all your medical expenses are going to be treated through your automobile insurance.
Got it.
So what happens is once you exhaust your no-fault coverage in New York, say it's a $25,000 limit. That's the limit over there. So say you exhaust that, $25,000 in bills. Then you can go ahead and send your demand to the third party that hit you for the remaining. They call it damages in New York, but it's what we call non-economic damages, the pain, suffering, all that stuff we do.
Gotcha.
So you can get your the non-economic damages, the pain, suffering from the third party. Okay. Now, say for example you exhaust those benefits under your no-fault coverage, and you have some extra bills or something like that, you can go get that remainder from the third party also. But you have to exhaust your no-fault benefits first.
Got it.
The thing too is that what I struggle with, what I don't really like is the doctors in New York. They're a little bit more. They do what they want to do because they're getting paid no matter what.
Yeah.
They're gonna bill. They're like, I'm billing your client's insurance. Automobile insurance. I'm getting paid. It's hard to get a hold of doctors. It's hard to tell them, hey, I need a recommendation for this or to help this case out. Or it's just hard to manage treatment because the doctors, they're just going to do their own thing. They're getting paid no matter what. Whereas in California, like we're pretty much we're holding the money for the doctor and the client. So they're going to collaborate with us more. They're going to work with us. They're going to care about his case more.
Of course.
Like, so New York, they're like, I don't care if the settlement's big or not for the client. I'm giving him treatment.
Right.
Or in California, like the doctors are, what else can I do for you? Like, so it's just a little bit more, it's, and also like I said earlier, the different types of cases are valued different there. So a rear end accident that you can work up in California with PT, chiropractic care, MRIs, pain management, those cases can settle for, 6 figures potentially. But in New York, it's a whole different ball game.
Wow.
Because the third party or whoever you're submitting your demand to, they're like, man, the medical expenses are already paid, and they're like, we're gonna give you this much money for pain and suffering. So,
oh boy,
yeah. So it's definitely, you're gonna have to be more selective about your cases over there for sure.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Got
pretty.
it.
That's pretty bad. No,
Yeah. And they cut your fees to 33 and a third.
Hear this,
Oh,
guys?
That's your cap of that. But I mean, like I said, a serious injury case is good anywhere though.
Right.
And I think the clients stand a little bit. They get more money. I think it's better for the clients in New York because their medical expenses are already covered, and that settlement amount's going for just to them and not going to medical bills too. So
I want to talk about dog bites. I know we after all the interviews that we've done so far, we've never
Oh my
really
God,
touched
yeah.
that subject. They happen a lot. It just in
Yeah.
general.
Yeah.
What do you have cases?
Yeah.
Like,
Hold on. So
Oh,
did
you're
you
gonna-
see the video the other day about this
from the
lady
girl in the Colombia.
in
No,
I
Colombia or
didn't.
Venezuela?
No.
Oh my God, her own dog attacked her
in the elevator.
and dragged her from her one arm first. I mean, it was just so bad.
was
They
bad.
ripped muscle.
what
and-
breed was it? I know
You know what?
everyone,
Pit bull.
We couldn't tell. Was it a pit bull?
Nah.
It
I
was
could
pit
not
bull.
tell.
I know everyone's like, oh, the breed, don't discriminate
Right,
against the dogs.
right.
You know, like, yeah,
but it's usually like
no, I actually
yeah.
have to say don't discriminate breeds because
Yeah.
my mom has a Yorkie and that thing bites.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you
and
what.
that's supposed to be a cute little lap dog, like super sweet, and that thing is vicious.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's because I have one of my best friends has like 5 pit bulls, and
Oh,
like
boy.
they're so defensive. You can't say anything bad about pit bulls because they're
Okay.
protected, but they're sweet dogs. So I really
Yeah.
think it is the owner and how you train them.
Train them.
But I'll tell you this, as in my experience, is that when I was doing insurance defense work and what I have now, the majority of my dog bites, it's been pit bulls, and I've had Akitas, Japanese Akitas.
Oh,
yeah,
Those things can be very
those are gnarly.
and those are. And it's usually it's sad to say, but I have it's young kids because they're playing with them too rough or something, and a lot of attacks happen because the dog was lunging after another animal, and not necessarily the owner, but they try to break up a dog fight and they got
And
bit
they
in the
get
process.
bit.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not the dog breed expert, but it seems like maybe those breeds aren't good with other animals. I don't.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Oh
you
my
know, I
God.
mean, be careful now what you
Yeah.
say. It might.
Yeah, I mean, listen. When I was like,
Yeah.
I think I was like or 5 years old. You
Yeah.
know, my mother told us this story the other day that she had to pick me up, and while a dog was like literally attacking her and biting her, and
Yeah.
you know, and I mean, it just it happens in a blink of an eye.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know?
I just had a case, a pit bull set for trial. A case set. It was in San Bernardino. It got continued for a few weeks, but yeah, it was a young kid, and it was he was walking a puppy, and this pit bull that had a history of biting, a history of killing other animals, lunged after his puppy. He protected it, and it just locked onto his arm, and he had to literally pull his arm out of the pit bull's jaws. His arm, it was just nasty. Like there's just, yeah, you can see bone. Yeah, so it's serious. People, you know, before I was a lawyer, you think dog bites. Everyone's like, oh, dog bite lawyer. Like dog bites can be, they're serious. It can be very serious. So yeah, it's
especially on younger or frail older people, it can be
very serious.
And from your experience, have you seen any of the physicians that treat those type of wounds and injuries? Are they able to actually like put things back together with their body and stuff?
Yeah, you can it depends how severe the wound is, but there's plastic surgeons too that can do scar revisions on that. But with the particular case I had, he was in the ER, and they had to actually like air his wound out and spray, put steroid and then sew it up. Gosh. But what people need to understand is like these, for a young kid to be attacked by a pit bull, they have psychological trauma. My client, he I've been around his family for a couple of years now, and they trust me, but just speaking to dog bite victims in general, if you get to know them, you'll understand that they're just different around animals. They don't see animals the same anymore. They take the longer way to school. If there's a dog in the house, they'll refuse to go in. So it is serious, and there's, I think, more beyond the wound is more of your behavior now. I had a client that wanted to be a veterinarian, and then he got attacked, and that dream's out the window. So
right.
I think a lot of lawyers, people, it's dog bite cases can be very valuable if you understand the client and understand their story. Yeah. Not just look at whatever the medical bills were, because the case I have for trial is not a lot of medical bills at all, but it's all the other stuff you got to deal with, the teasing, the scars, and as a young kid, it sounds, a young kid, that's a lot, 11 years old being bullied because you got scars on your arm. For us it doesn't matter, but so kids, that's the kind of stuff you got to understand.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna go opposite here. So all the animal lovers out there who have dogs, and sometimes you feel like your dog may be aggressive, make sure to get a muzzle or something if you're going for walks, just to avoid this kind of thing happening. I know a lot of people won't put their dogs up for adoption, or vets will say, oh, your animal's too aggressive, we need to put them down. And a lot of people will not do that because they're completely in love with their animals. So any pet store carries muzzles. Put that on when you go for a walk if you feel like your dog may be dangerous, just to avoid this. Like, look what happened.
Definitely.
If you guys Google what happened in Colombia, oh my gosh, it's so bad. Like, dog bites can be gnarly.
Yeah. So there's serious cases. It could be very, very traumatic for life-changing for someone. Yeah,
absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah. Yep. Man, let me ask you another question regarding dog bites. What are the average in medical bills for a serious dog bite? I guess versus an auto injury.
Well, it's different. Like, I mean, from my experience with dog bite cases, typically it's not really lien doctors involved. It's typically like they're going to the ER, they're getting their wound care there. It's paid by their health insurance or Medi-Cal, whatever it is. And then they got a couple of visits through a primary care. The worst one I had was he actually went to a plastic surgeon and had scar revision. But I don't see a lot of high medical bills for these cases. They're super, I'm gonna say superficial injuries, but they're very, it's usually on the top of your, it's not like you're not going in there and cutting someone open and going in and
fixing replacing
a disc. So, it's hard to put a dollar amount on it, but it hasn't been a lot like huge medical expenses on dog bite cases I've had. I have had some clients go to
Therapy.
counseling and things
Yeah.
like that, but hard to put a number on it, but not very high compared to some of the automobile accidents I've had.
All right. Well, let's.
So
You,
I was
go
going to
ahead.
ask, so if you could go back in time and prep yourself for a trial that they kind of gave you a curveball
Yeah.
on, I guess how would I rephrase this? So if you, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, how would
How
I,
would you rephrase that? I guess the question would be more like, how do you prep for trial?
Oh yeah, we could
You
do
know,
that
Yeah.
question.
how do you, you
From
know,
my experience,
do you have like a little
do you
chant
have
or
like
something?
yeah.
you know what I
music?
learned? Like, man, I learned the trials are. You as a lawyer, you need to try cases, and because it makes you just a better lawyer outside of that trial. Like, trying cases has changed the way I've seen everything. I look at files that I thought were good, and you might have good injuries, you might have a good liability, but this guy's just not likable.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't like him, the jury's probably not going to like him either. Another thing I learned too is that just because you really like the client, you got to remember you spent more time with them, you know them more. A jury's not going to have as much time with them as you. So I had a case. It was this was his last year. It was a minor impact case, and there was barely any damage to it, and they weren't giving us any money. And she went to urgent care on her own, and she had a torn rotator cuff, and there was no lien treatment. The lawyer's hands weren't all over the case, nothing like that. And they just didn't think there was a mechanism for injury because there's low property damage. We spent time with the client. We liked her. She's just a really nice woman, and we got to know her more. We learned about how we're trying to tell a story to the jury, so we learned about her lifestyle. And I like to garden. I can't garden anymore because my shoulder, and different things. I had trouble, showering. My sister had to help me shower. So we're like, man, we like her. We're gonna go ahead and take this tough. It was a tough case. I mean, the damage looked like a puncture mark. Mm-hmm. And we were like, you know what? Let's go in there and do it. They're not giving us. So we went in there, we prepped, and we tried that case like it was a multi-million-dollar. Like, we went hard on it.
Yeah.
And we got a verdict, but it wasn't the money we wanted. But I think one of the main lessons I learned was it's like she just doesn't. She didn't come off well in her jury in the trial. Wasn't lying about anything, but she just because you like them and you know them, like, doesn't mean like the jury's gonna. So I think we just overvalued the case.
Yeah.
So what I learned was you got a focus group. You got a focus group, and I used to hear that from other lawyers. And I'm like, I don't have time for that stuff. You guys aren't busy like me,
Mm-hmm.
But that is valuable because you can see, like, because we're skewed. Like, we think cases are worth more or under. You do a focus group with the potential jurors in the community, and you bring the client and do like a direct examination. Mm-hmm. You'll see, like, they'll take the client out of it and tell her you can go home now, and they'll talk about her and how she came off and what they really think about this case, and it's mind blowing.
Wow, that is really interesting.
We had a case where we thought I was really unsure about the client. There was she's tattoos everywhere, and I just wasn't. I liked her. I really liked her, but people can be judgmental. Mm-hmm. And I was worried about that. Mm-hmm. They loved her. They loved the case. They gave us like $3 million in the focus group, and I thought this case was worth maybe like $300,000.
Wow.
And because of the issues involved. But so if I can do it all over again, I would have focus grouped that case and probably not go to trial on that. But it was focus groups are good because you're getting the perspective on the people that are you're just getting an unbiased perspective on
right.
your case.
I can put it, it's almost like even like an image consultant because they're seeing it from a different point of view, right?
Yeah.
And because you're spending so much time with a client, you look at a client from a dollar, like, what is their case worth? Mm-hmm. And then versus somebody who doesn't have anything to do with the case, there's no money or anything involved. They look at it from a different perspective, and they'll be able to share that with you and be able to tell you, hey, whatever it is that the client needs to work on or make sure it doesn't come off this way with the jury.
It's invaluable. I mean, you put your bad facts out there, let them know what we did in our focus group was I did an opening statement, and I had my partner, he did a defense opening. Mm-hmm. And he didn't tell me what his defense opening was, but he did it. I'm like, man, like, you just made this defendant look like good. Like, So, and you get like you want them to hear the bad facts, and let them. And it just gives you more confidence going in.
So, if you could give future trial lawyers like top 5 recommendations or top 5 things to focus on before becoming, a trial lawyer, what would they be?
One, spend time with the client. You always hear when I was younger, when I was like mid 20s or out of law school, you always hear people go, "Oh, you gotta spend time with the client." And I'm like, whatever, you're not mature enough for that yet. But it's so true. Like, you have to know them, like understand what's going on, like talk to them, say, "Hey, like tell me about what's different about your life now." And you'd be surprised what you learn. And not only that, talk to their family members, figure out how's this person changed. Have you noticed a different? Have they tell me a story about how he's been different around dogs? I had one client. I think their sister told me before this dog attack, he liked to hike with us, and then after this dog attack, he saw a coyote, and he's like, "I ain't getting out of the car."
Right.
So those stories are powerful. So one of my advice is just get to know the family, get to know the
their
client,
friends, their client. Yeah,
it's tough, but you have to spend time with clients. If you're considering doing a trial, you need to know them, in my opinion. Focus groups, do focus groups. Those are invaluable, like I just said. I think also just go ahead and do it.
Would you say spend time with like a doctor, with like an expert?
I think so. It's good to know. It's good to if you're gonna know what the medicine is and really understand. Work with him before the trial. A lot of experts are busy and they don't want. But you have to corner them down, spend an hour with them, and go over a question and answer. Just understand the medicine more. That's very important. And also, I think a lot of lawyers are just afraid to do it, and you got to just do it. There's no way around it. I think. Yeah, man, I could get some backlash for this, but I don't care, whatever. Like a lot of lawyers,
we can always
there people in this business. A lot of lawyers are marketing to you.
Mm-hmm.
There's like, I'm gonna give me your case, I'll try, blah blah. Like, first of all, you got to remember, 90% of the time, they're having associates just like you work up the case, and it might not go to trial. So think about that before you refer it out. Second thing is, it's not it is expensive to try cases. It can be very expensive, but there's if you don't have the financing for it, you can do other things. There's loan companies out there that will finance your case for you. There's Advocate Capital, which has been great for my practice. They'll look at your books and give you a line of credit for if you're going to go to trial, you can expense it, Wow. You can co-counsel with a friend and do the case together. So I think a lot of lawyers are afraid to take that risk, but bring in a few other lawyers to work on it. If you're going to refer it out to another lawyer that's a big trial guy, make sure you're in there with them and try the case with them, because that's where the real value comes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think one of the last questions that we had for you are there any books that you recommend for personal injury law? In general.
Damages by David Ball. This is a great book. That if you're gonna get into personal injury, you got to read that book. It's just all about what I just talked about, mm-hmm. spending time with the clients, and just the stories. One of the big takeaway from that book I got was you really need to break down the client's non-economic damages. And I'll back up a little bit, but at the end of the day, what is this case about? And it's really about money. And people don't want to say, it's about justice. Yes, it is, but it's about it's about money and how much harm was done to the client. That's what it comes down to at the end of the day, and that's what the book talks about. Money and how much harm. Money and harm. That's what juries. That's what should be in their mind. How much money are we going to give them? How badly is he hurt? So one of the things I like the most in that book is it talks about stories, and when you have it talks about the power of lay witnesses. And getting stories out of them. So, for example, if I have a sister of a victim in a car accident, I can ask the sister, have her as a witness, and say, how's your brother changed since the car accident? Right. And she can go, well, he's just not happy anymore. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's not really powerful, right? But if you have the witness talk about, give me a story.
Examples,
before the accident, my brother liked to play, baseball with his younger son, and he liked to run the bases, and the kid, his son, would chase him on the bases. But now, like, he can't run the bases anymore, so he has to like throw the baseball from his wheelchair. So you giving like a powerful example of the injury and having a late witness talk about, give a story about it, and be specific. That there's a lot of power in that. So one of the things I taken from that book was I stack up. I like lay witnesses in my cases. I go heavy on stories, examples, non-economic damages. I want to get stories about how this person's changed from the family members. It's not always good from the client, because the jury, if the client is hurt and they're testifying, they can come off as a whiner. No one likes we're in America. Everyone wants the winner and the champion, right? So it's better to have other people talk about your injuries than yourself.
All right, Gabriel, thank you so much for coming in today. Again, this is Gabriel Sepulveda Sanchez with Sepulveda Sanchez Law. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow, and share this video today.
Awesome, guys.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Take care.